Starting off our countdown at number 10 is Frankie Muniz. Most people remember him as Malcolm from the hit TV series Malcolm in the Middle. It was one of the biggest shows on television during its time, and it set the young actor up for a very successful future in Hollywood. He was just 14 years old when he took on the role in the 6-year running sitcom, and even though his career continued to flourish, he randomly vanished from the public eye. After he decided to step away from acting, he went on to work as a professional race car driver, which caused him to suffer from some pretty serious injuries. He's had a fair amount of mini strokes and concussions, and now he suffers from memory loss, which he openly talked about in interviews. As of 2019, he is running an olive oil shop in Arizona with his wife Paige Price. They live normal lives, and Frankie is more than happy with it. He did appear in a film called The Black String in 2018, so people thought he might be back in Hollywood, but he says he just booked some roles for fun because he enjoys it. It is no longer his career path, and he's happy running a business with his lady. He does run a really funny Twitter page though, if you want a good laugh. Up next, number 9 is Brittany Ashton Holmes. Maybe her real name doesn't ring a bell, but her character name will. She plays Darla in the hit movie The Little Rascals. She won everyone's heart back in 1994, but then disappeared from Hollywood, and people have wondered what happened to her after finding huge success so early in life and then ditching it. She was only 5 years old when she was cast in the movie, and she had no idea that it would turn into a household name. After the movie, she went on to appear in a McDonald's commercial and even appeared in one of the episodes of Ellen. Brittany stuck with acting for 2 years, booking roles in TV movies, but nothing quite like The Little Rascals. But when it came to her teenage years, she stayed away from the spotlight and enjoyed living like any other normal teenage girl. She graduated from high school in California and went to college to study political science. When MySpace was a thing, remember that? Her bio caption was, "I was an actress when I was a little girl and did this movie called The Little Rascals. It's like really embarrassing to watch and I don't want to act anymore." The 30-year-old gal is currently working full-time at DJ Hicklips, which is a music app company. But fans were thrilled to see her join the rest of the cast for a Little Rascals reunion photo shoot in 2014. It was pretty cool to see them all grown up. Not gonna lie. Moving on to number 8, we have Danny Lloyd. If you've seen the iconic 1980 horror film The Shining, then you would know Danny Lloyd for playing the little boy, Danny Torrance. He took on the role at 5 years old and played the son of the main character, Jack Torrance, which for a kid would be a dream come true because the movie has gone down in history. But as the young actor started to grow up, he decided to grow away from Hollywood's limelight and live a normal life instead. He did an interview with The Sun and admitted that the money from The Shining helped put him through college, but he ended up working at a Walmart for a while, and he even did some pig farming. He's now 47 years old and is working as a science teacher in Kentucky. When talking about his choice to leave his acting career, he said, "There's a feeling I didn't like the movie and I wanted nothing to do with acting. But really, the truth is I kept trying for several years and I stopped at about 14 with almost no success." Fans were hoping they would see him return in the new sequel, Dr. Sleep, which came out this year, but he decided to sit this one out, but he says that he would be watching it. At least he supports it. Next up at number 7, we have Jeff Cohen, also known as Chunk from The Goonies. The actor doesn't have to do the truffle shuffle anymore, if you know what I mean. He was a child actor when he started as the pudgy character in the classic 80s film, and that is part of the reason why he says acting never worked out for him. After the film, he continued to pursue acting for 6 years, up until 1991, but as he grew older, he says that the competition got stronger and his chubby look wasn't booking him any roles. So by the time he reached his teenage years, he was already living a normal life and enjoying it. He went to the University of California, Berkeley to study law and later became an entertainment lawyer in Los Angeles. He is currently working as a lawyer, which all began after he started his own law firm back in 2002 called Cohen & Gardner. He also writes for the Huffington Post, which I think is pretty freaking cool. Sliding in the number 6 spot is Rick Moranis. He is a Canadian actor who is well known for his big Hollywood movies like Ghostbusters, Little Shop of Horrors, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Loved that movie. During the 80s, he was taking over the movie scene one step at a time, but sadly in 1991 his wife passed away from breast cancer, and that's when he decided to retire from acting. He continued to act in the following years, but revealed that it was just too difficult for him to be a single father of his 2 kids, as well as pursue acting. Not to mention, he was still trying to heal from the loss of his wife. It wasn't until 1997 that he completely stepped away from the spotlight. In later years, he did return to do some voice acting here or there. Fans thought they might see him in the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, but he turned down the offer to reprise his role. The former actor is now 66 years old and keeps a pretty low profile. When speaking about his decision to leave acting, he said, I quote, "I was working with really interesting people, wonderful people. I went from that to being at home with a couple of little kids, which is a very different lifestyle, but it wasn't important to me. I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. My life is wonderful. Well, as long as he's happy, right? Andy had a good run. He had like a full career by the time he retired. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Karen Parsons. The actress is best known as Hilary Banks from the hit TV series The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. From 1990 to 1996, Karen played the eldest Banks sibling who was basically the poster child of the 90s. But after the years of Fresh Prince were over, her name started to fade out. She opened up to Vice in a recent interview and said that it was hard to book acting roles after that and that people didn't care about her time on the show. She said, "Not that I expected people to know who I was, but even when I tried to tell casting directors what I'd done before, they would have no idea. I started feeling really stupid trying to get them to know what Fresh Prince was and who I was on it. It was embarrassing." Alright, well, if she has no luck with that resume, then I'm screwed. Since the series ended in 1996, she's been able to book 8 roles and none of them that have put her back on the map. She decided to focus on writing, and in 2005 she founded the non-profit organization called Sweet Blackberry, which aims at educating children about African American history. She also has her own book called How High the Moon, and she works full-time on her organization, which has grown from a passion project into a thriving organization with a series of animated short films that are available on DVD and Netflix. So she's done pretty well for herself. Here we are, number 4, with Eric Sullivan. Another Malcolm in the Middle star, Eric played Little Dewey, the youngest brother of the bunch. He was definitely the cutest member of the Wilkerson family, and he was only 14 years old when the series wrapped back in 2006. He is now 27 years old, which is super weird to me to think that we're the same age. He's definitely not the cheeky little boy he was all those years ago. He's a young man now who has kept pretty quiet ever since he left his acting career behind. His last ever acting job was in 2010, and from there he decided to focus on his studies. He's been living a quiet and normal life ever since. Fans did get their hopes up when they saw a picture he posted on his Instagram with his former co-star and brother on the show, Justin Burfield. The two of them were sitting behind the scenes of a movie that Justin was producing. It was cool to see them again, but Eric still remains behind the camera, and he's not really anywhere near it, like at all. In third place is Angus T. Jones. He was one of the cutest child stars of all time when he was starring on the TV series 2.5 Men. He quickly rose to fame for his role as Jake Harper, and he spent over a decade working alongside Charlie Sheen. From the outside looking in, he had his entire future set up at that point. I mean, he was a kid playing a lead role on one of the biggest shows on TV. That's literally every actor's dream. In 2010, he broke the record as the highest paid child star actor in history. He was just 17 years old when he signed a $7.8 million contract for another 2 seasons of the show, which means he was making $300,000 an episode. Must be nice. But the show started to get a bad reputation, and it was because Charlie Sheen's addiction got out of control and he flew off the handlebars, to say the least, and he was fired from the show in 2011. Angus continued working on the show, but as his character grew older, he didn't agree with some of the things that he was scripted to do, like romantic scenes or scenes with illegal substances. In 2012, he shifted his focus towards religion and God and realized that the show contradicted everything he believed in. He ended up leaving the show and he went online to try and get fans to stop watching it, calling the show filth. From that point on, he attended the University of Colorado and studied environmental studies, but then changed his major to Jewish studies. In spot number 2 is Mara Wilson. She's best remembered for playing Matilda in the 1996 film titled after her character. Kids were quick to fall in love with her character and the magical powers that came with it. In fact, we are still talking about Matilda to this day, and I am still wishing I could make pancakes like she does. Earlier this year, there was a trending game called the Matilda Challenge, which had people making videos of them dancing around a room and pretending to make objects move, just like her iconic scene in the movie. The challenge went so viral that Mara even reacted to them during a video interview. But regardless of how much fun we thought her character was, Marla felt differently about her whole experience. In one of her 2012 blogs, she wrote about it and said she didn't enjoy the acting experience, which is why she left shortly after. After leaving Hollywood, she went on to live a normal life and found a passion for writing. She released a novel in 2016 called Where Am I Now? True Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. We haven't seen her on the big screen in a long time, but she continues to work on screenplays and novels, and if you want to hear what she's up to now from her perspective, just read her book. Taking over the number 1 spot is Jack Gleeson. This one is especially painful for all the Game of Thrones fans. Jack took on the role of the evil King Joffrey for 3 years, but decided to walk away from it and acting altogether. Instead of pursuing an acting career, he decided to move back home and attend Trinity College in Dublin, where he studied philosophy and theology. There wasn't any bad blood between him and the show, he just didn't like the idea of fame and everything that kind of came with it. During an interview, he said he actually hated celebrity culture. The 27-year-old is enjoying his normal life life now, and he founded his own theater company called Collapsing Horse Theater Company, which is actually based in Dublin. Still plenty of time to make a return to Hollywood though, you never know. And let's not forget he has Game of Thrones on his resume forever now, which is pretty sweet, and I'm sure he can come back at any time. Starting off our countdown list, number 10 is Cameron Diaz. She has been one of the most loved names in Hollywood and spent many years working as a busy actress, showing up in practically every rom-com there was. That's why people were shocked when she announced that she was going to be leaving her acting career and just wanted to live a regular life with her husband, Benji Madden. The now 46-year-old told InStyle, "I started experiencing fame when I was 22, so 25 years ago. That's a long time. The way I look at it is that I've given more than half of my life to the public. I've done so much, I feel fulfilled with the adventures I've sought out in my life. I am in a great place." Yeah, I'd be in a great place too if I grew up in Hollywood. She's basically set for life, guys. She also said that she doesn't miss performing, so the chances of her making a return are slim. She's currently looking into the landscape of wellness, she said, and says that she has some new projects brewing. So could we be seeing a wellness lifestyle blog or something from her soon? That'd be pretty sweet. I'd probably read it. Up next, number 9 is Kevin Jonas. So we know that the Jonas Brothers have reunited and are back on tour right now, but did you ever wonder what the hell happened to Kevin all of these years? After the group first split up, we saw Nick continue with music and acting, and we also saw Joe pursue a music career as well, but what about Kevin? He kinda just disappeared and did his own thing. We didn't see much of him in the Hollywood spotlight. Like at all. That's because he went from a full-time music career to being a full-time entrepreneur. Throughout those years, he started a company and is the co-CEO of The Blue Market, which is an influencer marketing company. He also formed a partnership with We Heart It, which is a video sharing app, to go hand in hand with his company. When asked why he switched from music to this, he said, "I've always had a passion for the tech industry and I like to help build interesting products." On top of that though, he also got married and is now a full-time dad to 2 beautiful daughters. Some people didn't even know if they'd see him back on tour this time around, but you cannot have the Jonas Brothers without all the brothers. It just ain't right. Although we can all admit that Kevin is kind of useless in that band. Cruising to the number 8 spot is Dave Chappelle. For more than 30 years, he has been known in the world of comedy for making people laugh, but then he earned himself the title of the guy who walked away from Hollywood at the height of his success. His show on Comedy Central, Chappelle's Show, was in its prime when he decided to literally ditch and fly to Africa to live a normal life. This is not an exaggeration, that is exactly what he did. He recently came back to comedy and has a Netflix special, which received mixed reviews by the way, in case you're maybe wanting to watch it. But even though he's making a return, he is still trying to keep a low profile because that is where he feels comfortable. He spoke with CBC News and said that he isn't a fan of fame. He said, "Fame is a horrifying concept when it is aimed at you. At the end of the day, you don't have that much control over it. I found an altitude I was comfortable with. I found a way to do what I like to do and avoid some of the parts that I was uncomfortable with." As for his show, he said that he will not be returning to it. He literally pieced out to Africa and was gone from Hollywood for years, so the fact that he can just walk back in like this is pretty impressive. In spot number 7 is Elizabeth Hurley. You probably know her from Austin Powers and from different tabloid headlines. The British bombshell was once an A-list celebrity, but then left the public eye to be a full-time mom. Back in 2005, she announced that she was taking an extended leave of absence from acting so she could focus on raising her son. Since then, she went from the glamour and glitz to the farm life. She admitted that you could find her on a tractor and cutting down hedges and trees. She's basically just a huge outdoors person. On top of the lifestyle and career change, she's focused on a different career path and started her own bikini line called Elizabeth Hurley Beach. When she's not designing bikinis or farming, you can find her being a social media queen. That is right, this girl is Insta famous. As for acting, we saw her make a brief return after her disappearance in 2005. She took on a role in Gossip Girl for a year and then went off the map again. In more recent years, she is making her way back into the scene a little bit by starring in TV series like The Royals and Runaways, but she is the first to admit that she is content with her life of farming, making bikinis, and most importantly, being a good mom. And at number 6 is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, also known as JTT. He became a huge child star after voicing the young Simba in Disney's The Lion King, and then preteens fell in love with his character on the hit TV series Home Improvement. He played the role of Randy, Tim Allen's son, throughout the years from 1991 all the way to 1998. The series has become a household name, and people were crushed when he left the show and vanished from Hollywood unexpectedly. He was just 16 years old when he was at the height of success and decided to leave it so that he could live a normal life. He left his acting career and went to Harvard University, where he studied philosophy and history, and then he finished his degree at Columbia University. He spoke on his decision and said, "I wanted to go to school, to travel, and have a bit of a break. To sit in a big library amongst books and students, that was pretty cool. It was a novel experience for me. I never took the fame too seriously. It was a great period of my life, but it doesn't define me." He's now 38 years old and says that he would like to eventually work behind the camera. He still has a passion for TV and film, but does not see himself returning to acting. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Phoebe Cates. She was all over the screen in the 1980s, playing the hot girl next door in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The beautiful brunette was stealing hearts and earned herself the title of a sex symbol, mainly because her character pranced around in a red bikini and was kind of a whore. From there, she continued to book roles, and some people from this generation might recognize her from the Gremlins movies. But from 2001 to 2015, she stayed off the radar for the most part, and we haven't seen much of her. She moved to New York with her husband and 2 children to live a more normal life. When asked about it, she openly says that she retired from acting to raise her children. She also says that she never really enjoyed acting. Well then. In 2005, her career focus turned to fashion, and she opened a boutique called Blue Tree. It's this funky general store that sells everything from olive oil to clothing, and apparently they are just all handpicked by her. Olive oil and clothing. That's kind of weird. The store is a huge success, and she admits that sometimes a customer will tell her that she looks like an actress from the 80s, to which she replies, "I get that a lot." Here we are at number 4 with Michael Scheffling. Even though he had a short 7-year career in Hollywood in the 80s, he is still famously known for his breakout role as Jake Ryan in 16 Candles. Most people would agree that he was lined up to have a pretty bright future with acting, but then he walked away from it to live a normal life with his family in Pennsylvania. He's remembered as the 80s teen heartthrob, but he is now 58 years old, which makes me feel really old. He also modeled for magazines like GQ during his career before calling it quits in 1991. He completely vanished, but he has done a few interviews with magazines and newspaper articles, giving us any kind of update on what he has been up to. Since leaving the industry, he moved back to Pennsylvania, where he was born and raised, and went into carpentry. When asked why he left in the first place, he said it was because of the lack of good acting roles, and because he had to support a growing family at the time and acting was not cutting it. You know what they say, starving artist, and that is a real thing. Today his net worth is estimated to be a modest $500,000, but he still has a successful business back home and a very loving family. In our third spot is Freddie Prinze Jr. He was riding high on success when his career took off in the 90s. He starred in movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and She's All That, and from there we saw him charm us in a handful of movies after that. Most people know him for playing Fred in the live-action Scooby-Doo remakes. He says it's the movie that gets him recognized the most. Well, his exact words were, I quote, "If it's guys, it's Scooby. If it's girls, it's She's All That because you were all in love with me back then." Modest. Well, he's not wrong. Scooby-Doo is also where he starred alongside his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and in 2009 when they decided to start a family, Freddie's priorities had shifted. We started to see less and less of him as the years went on, and he says that he became a full-time dad. But his career focus shifted to cooking, and he released a cookbook in 2016 called Back to the Kitchen. When asked about acting, he said that he is done with that part of his career, but we still see him popping up in some roles here or there. Like some minor stuff. But for the most part, he is happy living his life as a husband, a dad, and apparently a chef. In the number 2 spot is Sarah Michelle Gellar, because I think it's only fair that we put his wife on this list since they both left Hollywood together. The beautiful actress became known for her iconic role as Buffy Summers in the hit TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. After finding success from that show, her career took off and we started to see her in other things like Scooby-Doo, The Grudge, The Crazy Ones, Cruel Intentions, and even The Big Bang Theory. But her career started to slow down as well when she became a mom, and it looked like she wasn't going to bless us on our screen ever again. She too turned to a food business just like her husband Freddie. She's the co-founder of an organic baking company called Food Stirs. She's openly talked about her experience of leaving the acting industry to become a full-time entrepreneur. She told Forbes, "Being an entrepreneur is like shooting a movie that films 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's definitely a constant learning curve." On top of that, she also wrote a cookbook of her own called Stirring Up Fun with Food. So basically these two left acting to be parents, write cookbooks, and start their own food company. Couple goals. Filling in our number 1 spot is Daniel Day-Lewis. The actor had fans stunned when he announced in 2017 that he was going to retire from acting. People admired his work for years. He has the title of one of the most respected actors of this generation and one of the greatest actors of all time. Quite the title to live up to. His last role was in The Phantom Thread when he took on the role of Reynolds Woodcock, but he says he didn't know at the time that it was going to be his last movie. He opened up to Variety about his decision to retire and said that he doesn't know the exact reason for wanting to depart from the acting world. He said, "I haven't figured it out, but it settled on me, and it's just there. I dread to use the overused word artist, but there's something of the responsibility of the artist that hung over me." He also went on to say that he had no desire to watch his last film, and that is when he knew that he needed to stop working as an actor because that connection was gone. Turns out he no longer wanted the glamour, fame, or money. I think you still want the money. He is currently living out of the spotlight and basically off the Hollywood grid altogether. Beginning our countdown at number 10 is Jonathan Bennett. It's been 15 years since he graced our screens as hottie Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls. There is no doubt about it that part of the reason we're obsessed with the movie is because of the unrealistic crush we had on him. I literally thought I was gonna date him. The movie brought in over $100 million at the box office, and people are still quoting it all these years later. After finding success from the 2004 movie, he continued to act, but we kinda saw him just fade away from the Hollywood spotlight. And that is because for a while he chose to focus on other parts of his life outside of the limelight. He got into health and fitness and became a spin instructor at Flywheel Los Angeles in West Hollywood. A few years later, he released his own cookbook, which was actually inspired by Mean Girls, and he titled it The Burn Cookbook. The design even looks like the Burn book from the movie. Talk about a genius marketing plan. In the book, he references quotes from the movie and also put in a toaster doodle recipe inspired by Gretchen Wiener's family. Luckily for us gals, we do see his face popping up here and there on some TV shows and in Ariana Grande's music video. He has found a good balance of a normal life while still pursuing acting to some degree, just not like the Aaron Samuels way. Up next, number 9 is Randy Quaid, one of the Quaid brothers, but probably not the one you are thinking of. His brother Dennis Quaid was actually married to Meg Ryan at one point, so many people think of him first when they think of the brothers. But Randy is still a Golden Globe winner and an Oscar nominee who was once a huge actor in Hollywood, but his last credit was in 2009, and since then he has been living a regular life. Well, that's a lie. He's actually spent all of these years running from the US law enforcement. It started back in September 2009 when he and his wife were both arrested in Texas for leaving an outstanding tab of $10,000 at a California hotel. I don't even know how you get $10,000 tab at a hotel. A year later, they were arrested again for sneaking in and living out of a guest home that they owned years ago but no longer had possession. Court dates and arrests were both set, but they ran off to Canada and hid for years until they were found in 2016. They ended up getting arrested in Vermont while trying to cross the border. He claimed that they had been hiding from a group called Hollywood Star Whackers, which apparently is a dangerous group that engineers the deaths of Hollywood celebrities to somehow embezzle their royalties and life insurance. So yeah, he chose to live a regular life, but clearly just went down a dark path and began living the regular life of a criminal. Coming in number 8 is the one and only Meg Ryan. She was one of Hollywood's biggest actors for many years before she decided to step away from her career. People were rightfully confused with her decision, but got some clarity after she spoke about it on Gwyneth Paltrow's panel discussion. During the interview, she explained, "I didn't really aim to be an actor. I was a journalism major at school and a curious person, and I wanted to go back out into the world and figure out who I was." The height of her fame came when she starred with Tom Hanks in the 1998 movie You've Got Mail. From that moment on, she was labeled as America's sweetheart. But she decided to step out of the spotlight, and you will rarely find her at public events anymore. She's openly admitted that she had a lot of fun in her career, but never enjoyed the idea of being a famous person and having everyone know everything about you. She's been laying low until more recently in October of this year when it made headlines that she and her fiance John Mellencamp called off their engagement after being together for 8 years. So even though she is trying to dodge the spotlight, they somehow still found her. In spot number 7 is Lindsay Lohan. The actress was tired of being judged, so she left. But she didn't just leave Hollywood, she left America. After a whole bunch of chaos in the media for her time in jail, she decided to move to London to find some peace and quiet. She disappeared from our screens, and we later found out that she had moved from London to Dubai to live on the beaches of Mykonos. There was a method to her plan though. She picked Dubai because paparazzi paparazzi is actually illegal there, so she knew that it was a place to go where she could have some privacy. She told the New York Times that she loves living there and said, "It's less demanding. I don't have to turn on the news and see about the Kardashians. I don't have to see about anything anymore. I choose what I want to see and how I want to live." She's been spending her free time traveling, but she also opened her own beach club on a Mykonos beach, so she's busy running her own business now. Fans were thrilled to see her make a return to MTV with her own reality show called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club. We see her working as a CEO trying to hire people to work at her new beach club. I shamelessly watched it, and I gotta admit, it was pretty cool to see her in a different light like that. Plus, she looks really happy. That makes me happy. Alright, in the number 6 spot is Kirk Cameron. He was a teen phenom while he played Mike Seaver on the ABC sitcom Growing Pains. The show ran from 1985 to 1992 and set him up for a pretty successful career after that. He was acting for many years before he decided to step away from Hollywood and focus on his religious beliefs. Nowadays, he is an evangelical Christian who is focusing on faith-based projects, some of which have caused a lot of controversy. He landed himself in some heat back in 2012 after doing an interview with Piers Morgan and spoke up against same-sex marriage. He has found some success in his projects though. He actually promoted the film Fireproof, which incorporated teaching kits on marriage and marketed it to churches. It earned $33 million at the box office, which is huge, seeing as his budget was barely anything. From there, he has continued to use his Christian beliefs in his projects. Some have found success, while others have flopped. During an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he was asked if he misses the days he spent in Hollywood, and he replied with, "I can never forget them. While I don't miss those days, I absolutely love that I have that history with my fans." Halfway through our list at number 5 is Peter Ostrom, also known as Charlie Bucket in the original 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He was just 12 years old when he was selected to play the role, and although he really enjoyed being in the movie, he ultimately decided not to sign a 3-film contract when the movie was over. When he returned home from filming, he says he grew an interest in horses and instead wanted to become a veterinarian one day, which is why he went to the Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine in 1984 to receive his certificate. Later on in 2005, he moved to New York with his wife and 2 children, and as of 2018, he works out of the Countryside Veterinary Clinic, where it was reported that he mainly works with horses and cows. As for giving up his acting career, he says that he wanted to live a normal life and declined reporters and interviews for a long period of time. When he finally spoke about his decision, he said, "I wanted people to judge me on who I was, not what I'd done." He also told a funny story that sometimes in his childhood, he would lie and tell people that it was his brother in the movie, not him. But I feel like that's a win for his brother to get credit for something he wasn't a part of. Like, I would say that I was the kid in Willy Wonka. That's sweet. Here we are at number 4 with Chris Owen. You'd probably know him better as Chuck Sherman, aka the Shermanator. Back in 1999, he made a name for himself for playing the part in the hit comedy American Pie. He ended up reprising the role for all of the films and even landed it in the spin-off American Pie Presents Bandcamp. But he did have other success outside of the franchise and landed roles in shows like Seventh Heaven and The Mentalist. However, his career ended up fading out and he was off the Hollywood radar for a number of years. In 2014, New York Daily News reported that he was working as a waiter in a sushi restaurant in California. Turns out he went on to live a regular life and work what people would call a basic job just compared to his Hollywood life. They contacted him for an interview and he spoke on it saying, "Life doesn't always go the way you planned. I love acting and this job lets me stay in the fight." He admitted that he still tries to book acting roles, but he's also content with living a regular life. The good news is the article helped him book 2 small film roles after it was published. So, it's a win. In the 3rd spot is Nikki Blonsky, mainly known for her role as Tracy Turnblad in the musical movie Hairspray, starring alongside Zac Efron and John Travolta. The movie came out back in 2007, which marked her first on-screen acting role and a big one at that. After that, you might have watched her in the short-lived ABC Family series called Huge. Since then, she booked smaller roles here and there, but it wouldn't be enough to support someone as a full-time income, which is why she had to take a step back and live a more ordinary life. In 2011, the actress did an interview with E! And said that she worked at a shoe store in New York City and was later hired as a cosmetologist at a hair salon. She went on to get her cosmetology license and she began working part-time as a hairstylist and makeup artist in between acting auditions. Now, she's a little different than the other ones on our list because she didn't choose to live a normal life, it was actually her only choice. She did an interview in 2017 and said, "I did not take a conscious step out of Hollywood, and so long as I'm alive, I never will. Singing and acting has been my dream since I was 3. It kind of feels like the industry left me." Honestly, that makes me sad. Kinda breaks my heart a little bit. I hope she comes back. Filling in our number 2 spot is Macaulay Culkin. Pretty much every kid in the world knows him as Kevin McAllister or just the kid from Home Alone. He's mainly known for winning over our hearts throughout the movie series, but he also appeared in 8 other feature films between the years 1990 to 1994. So he was a huge child star at the time, to say the least. Many would predict that his acting career was solid from that point on. But then, which felt like out of nowhere, he quit acting and disappeared from Hollywood altogether. Turns out he wanted to live a normal life and he ended up moving to Paris. Yes, Paris. He revealed that he spends most of his time writing, painting, and working on a podcast called Bunny Ears with his friend Matt Cohen. After going MIA for many years, he has now made his way back into the limelight to share his story, but he doesn't really care for the fame part of it. He's actually thrilled when people don't recognize him or bring up the Home Alone movies. During an interview with The Blast, he said, "I was going to Paris for a little while and I thought people didn't recognize me, but it was like, no, we recognize you, we just don't care." And I was like, where have you been all my life? Taking the number 1 spot on today's list is Justin Bieber. At one point in time, he was the one celebrity we saw all over the media. Becoming one of the biggest pop stars at such a young age ended with him wanting a more normal life. The singer is originally from a small town called Stratford, Ontario, here in Canada, which is only a few hours away from us, by the way, which is really cool. But a few years ago, we could tell that the fame seemed to be getting to him. It all started when he announced that he was no longer going to be taking pictures with fans out in public. His music career took a long break and he slowly started disappearing from the charts. After being engaged to his now wife, Hailey Baldwin, it was announced that he wanted to move from LA and permanently live in Canada, away from the limelight and paparazzi. One of his friends spoke about it to Us Weekly and said he needs to get out of the LA and New York City scene. It's overwhelming for him. He's trying to climatize what a normal life should look like. He feels most at peace at home. He's been living a quiet life here in Canada since 2018 and recently revealed that new music will be coming in 2020. He has been open about his struggle with anxiety and depression, and living a regular life has given him some time to heal. So maybe this will be his big comeback. But I feel like his life will never really be truly regular. It's just a more regular than like what he's used to. Fun fact though, he was at that Tim Hortons here in Canada with Hailey. Starting off at number 10 is Carly Schroeder. The Lizzie McGuire actress traded in her childhood fame to enlist in the army and be an advocate for human trafficking victims. She first announced her big change in February 2019, where she wrote, "For 22 years, I've played dress up for a living. I tormented Lizzie McGuire's little brother on the Disney Channel, was a dolphin trainer, the first female soccer player on an all-boys team, and Harrison Ford once rescued me during an intense home invasion. I've been considering it for a while and it was a big choice." She opened up about her decision with TMZ and said that her dad was in the army as a Green Beret medic and her younger brother is in the Marines also. When she wasn't acting, she was spending time working with veterans and advocating for human trafficking victims, which is what ultimately led to her decision. Carly documented some of her training on her Instagram, and in all fairness, she didn't really ditch fame for a regular life. She left Hollywood to fight for her country. So, round of applause for her, because not many people will do that, like me. I'm too fragile for the army. I get killed immediately. First day in training. Coming in next, number 9 is Mike Vitter. If you grew up in the 90s, then you probably watched and adored him for his role as Benny Rodriguez, aka the Jet, in the movie Sandlot. He decided to leave his acting career behind just 5 years after his success from Sandlot in 1993. And we only found out what he has been up to because a video went viral of him casually saving a kitten from smoke inhalation after a car explosion. Yes, that is right, he left Hollywood to become a man in uniform, which is never a bad thing. Am I right, ladies? The LA Firemen's Relief Association wrote a birthday post on their Tumblr page that started to gain traction. It showed a picture of him all suited up in his gear and said, "Happy birthday to Los Angeles firefighter Mike Vitter, aka Benny the Jet Rodriguez from the super awesome film The Sandlot." They just had to give him that clout, you know? Unfortunately, people haven't been able to interview him, so it seems like his Hollywood life is really in the past for good. Next up at number 8 is Steven Seagal. For many years the actor was kicking butt and taking names on the big screen, but then he decided he wanted to do that in real life instead. Back in 2013 he decided to leave his acting career and became a reserve police officer in New Mexico in 2013. Which makes sense, because throughout his years he's gained a ton of personal knowledge of training and self-defense, so rather than dedicating it to movies, he gave it to the Donna Ana County Police Department department. Kelly Jackson, the spokeswoman of the department, spoke with the Los Angeles Times and said, "We could get this type of training elsewhere, but there's just something special about Mr. Segal." He later went on to be the deputy sheriff for the Jefferson Parish in Louisiana and says that's where he brings in some of the most dangerous criminals. He said, "The thing I like best is forming a team where we can go after high-risk warrants for people who are armed and dangerous, murderers, bank robbers, rapists, kidnappers. Those are the guys I like to get." Now, he's still popping up in movies here and there even though he's technically retired, but things affected his acting career in 2018 when allegations were made that he raped and sexually assaulted 2 women, which he says is completely false and made up. Sliding to the number 7 spot is Barrett Oliver. He was once a very popular child actor in the 1980s, starring in films like The Neverending Story and Cocoon. But he chose to walk away from the acting scene when he was just 16 years old because he wanted to pursue other opportunities. He ended up finding an interest in photography and went to college to study it. He studied under an artist named Steven Berkman and 2 master photographers named Cole Weston and George Tice, who introduced him to this unique 19th century technique of wet plate photography. From there, he created his own unique style and has spent the last decade giving lectures and hosting his own workshops around the country to promote his craft. Not only is he a photography teacher, but he is also an author. He published a book called A History of the Woodbury Type. Honestly, he seems pretty content with his decision to depart from Hollywood all those years ago. He's chillin', he's cruising, seems happy. Here now at number 6 we have Shirley Temple. She started her acting career at the young age of 3 and became Hollywood's biggest box office child star in the 30s. If you don't know who I'm talking about, she's the girl who sang that famous song "Animal Crackers in My Soup." I literally sang it every time I had a bowl of soup as a kid. Probably still do. By the time she was 12, she starred in 43 movies and a bunch of commercials. But when she turned 22 years old, she decided she wanted to give all of that up and live a normal life outside of the spotlight. She ended up changing her career path entirely and actually ran for Congress in 1967. Unfortunately, she lost, but then 2 years later she was appointed to represent the US at the United Nations. And then, later down the road, she became the US ambassador to Ghana from 1974 to 1976. Who would have thought the Animal Cracker Girl would end up in politics? Sadly, she did pass away in 2014 at the age of 85, but her memory lives on forever in both Hollywood and in politics. It's kinda like she lived 2 different lifetimes, like in one, which is pretty sweet. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Charlie Korsmo. He first became known for being in Steven Spielberg's Peter Pan retelling Hook. He was one of the 2 children who gets kidnapped by the captain. But then he was later known for being a high school nerd who can't seem to fit in at house parties in the movie Can't Hardly Wait. But now he's not really known for any of his roles because he decided to put his acting career to rest and pursue a completely different field. He says that when he made the decision to give acting a break and live a more normal life, he realized that he actually really enjoyed going to school. I don't get people who like school. So he spent years in school and is now an assistant professor of law. He told the Daily that he probably would have been kicked out of Hollywood anyways, so leaving it was a smart move. He said, "I think I managed the trick of leaving voluntarily just about the time I would have been thrown out anyways." Apparently, he says that he'd be losing out on roles regardless as he grew out of his child actor stage. But to me it's like, of course you would with that attitude, Charlie. Have some positivity. Here we are number 4 with Noah Hathaway. Everyone loves a good comeback story, and he might have one of his own after leaving Hollywood to live a normal life and then wiggling his way back in many years later. He was 12 years old when he had his breakout role in The Neverending Story. After the success of the movie, he was able to book other roles but decided in 1994 that he would leave it all behind. He spoke about it and said, "I worked the first 20-something years of my life as an actor. I just wanted to drop off the radar and be a regular human being. But after his long break, he decided in 2012 to make a return and start in the movie Sushi Girl. From there, he's booked a couple of roles, his biggest one being in Tom Holland's Twisted Tales back in 2014, but his acting career and fame isn't what it used to be, so he still lives a fairly regular lifestyle. But his comeback story is still a good one. He kinda got the best of both worlds. Took a break, came back, once was an actor. I don't know, he's like Hannah Montana right there. In the 3rd spot on our countdown list is Tony Danza. He was the Italian heartthrob that captured the attention of his female audience when he first starred in Who's the Boss? But his success started to fade out as he starred in sitcoms that failed to take off, and as time went on, fans started to see less and less of him. It was in 2009 that he left the fame behind and became a 10th grade English teacher in Philadelphia. He did study education when he was younger and said that part of him always wanted to teach, but he wanted to pursue other careers first. He first went with boxing and then later on did the whole Hollywood scene. But he dived into teaching and took it seriously, which is what helped him in his 2010 A&E reality series called Teach Tony Danza. He also wrote a book in 2012 called I'd Like to Apologize to Every Teacher I Ever Had, My Years as a Rookie Teacher at Northeast High. His teaching career only lasted a year at that school, but says that he never felt more at home. During an interview he said, "I just liked the community, I just felt really at home, and not only did they accept me, but I just felt like I was home." But he too has a bit of a comeback story. Since 2012 he has booked 4 roles, but people were thrilled to see him taking on the role in 2018 for the TV series The Good Cop. The actor slash teacher is now 68 years old and he himself doesn't know where his life is headed. I mean, he could retire at this point I'm sure, but he's still doing community work in Philadelphia and is working on projects and events with the school that he used to teach at. Coming into our number 2 slot is Heather Donahue. She found herself on the fast track to fame after taking the lead role in the successful movie The Blair Witch Project. But the attention didn't sit well with her and she really didn't want any part of it. She dabbled in it and booked roles here and there until 2008 when she decided that it was not the life for her. So what did she do after leaving her acting career? She went on to grow marijuana for a living. And no, this is not a joke. It all began in 2007 when she received her own prescription of medical marijuana and she realized the benefits that it could have on other people. So she started her own farm and started to grow it on her own. She even wrote a book called Grow Girl: How My Life After the Blair Witch Project Went to Pot. As for her experience in Hollywood, she doesn't have any positive things to say. In fact, she burned all of her stuff. She told the Daily Mail, "I took all my stuff into the desert related to my acting career and burned it all. The only thing I kept was the blue ski cap from the movie poster. I figured if things got really bad, I could sell it on eBay." Well, at least she has a backup plan, right? We've made it to number 1, you guys, and we have the one and only Gene Hackman. This man deserved to live a regular life after dedicating pretty much his entire life to his acting career. He was an actor for almost 5 decades, and he managed to win a handful of awards and nominations for his performances. He has been given the title of one of the greatest actors of all time, and people were sad when he announced in 2004 that he was leaving his career behind. People were shocked, but at the same time, it's like, can we really be that surprised? Like the rest of us, he has to retire at some point. He decided he wanted to focus on writing instead, and since leaving the Hollywood limelight, he has written a number of historical fiction novels that are set in times and places ranging from the Great Depression all the way to the Wild West. So you can still keep up with him, it's just through books nowadays, not on a screen. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Kal Penn. The former actor had quite the upgrade when he left the big screen and he went on to get a normal job. For some of us, this would still not be a normal job, but more normal than being a Hollywood actor, I'm sure. In 2004, he was eating at the White Castle in the movie Harold and Kumar, and in 2009, he was at the White House. Yes, the White House. Despite having a very goofy on-screen presence, he was hired for a serious position as the Associate Director in the White House Office of Public Engagement. His real name is Kalpen Madi, I hope I said that right, and he worked with the government directly to foster effective communication with underrepresented communities. But it seems like maybe he did miss the acting lifestyle because after working this job for 2 years, he returned to the showbiz. He chose to live a very normal life, but it didn't last very long, so I guess Hollywood chose him. Up next, number 9, we have Audrey Hepburn. I am surprised this hasn't come up on one of our other lists because it was actually my first time learning about this. I'm still a little mind blown. During the height of her career, it is safe to say that probably everyone had a Breakfast at Tiffany's poster in their bedroom and a little black dress in their closet. The Hollywood style icon had a huge influence at the time, but many people forget that she retired just a few years after her career peaked. She worked with the United Nations Children's Fund for most of her adult life. People don't remember her for it as much as they remember her for her beauty. But in 1988, after she chose to retire early from the big screen, she was made an official UNICEF ambassador and went on several field missions, which I had no idea about. Cruising into number 8, we have Jennifer Lawrence. If you're a fan of the actress, then you might have wondered where she has been the last few years and why it seemed like she kind of just disappeared. She took a year off from acting between 2018 to 2019, but as soon as she returned to the spotlight for X-Men Dark Phoenix, it seemed like she was taking more time off again. She began dating an art gallery owner named Cook Maroney, and in October 2019, the two of them got married, which was very quiet and not publicized at all. Just a few months after getting married, the world entered into this pandemic due to COVID-19, so a lot of actors were kind of forced to take time away from their craft. But despite taking a few years off from acting to live a normal life and become a wife without all the media involved, she will be returning to our screens in 2021. Thank God, because I love her. Taking over our number 7 spot is Dylan Sprouse. Most of his fans grew up laughing at his hilarious antics on Disney Channel's show, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And many people thought they would see him on their screens for a very long time. But after he left the iconic Disney series and acting altogether, he went on to graduate from the New York University's Gallatin School of Individualized Study in 2015. From there, he went on to own his very successful All Wise Meadery in Brooklyn. And when I say successful, I mean successful. In 2020, he made the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in the Hollywood Entertainment category, so kudos to him. When asked why he left acting, he admitted that he no longer wanted to take on major leading roles and said that it was boring. In recent years, he has returned to film, but not Hollywood film. He has taken on short films and is wanting to dive deeper into the craft for his passion and not the clout. He talked to Daily News and said he is not doing this for clout anymore and still continues to run his very successful business. Moving on to number 6, we have Willa Ford. In 2001, she was a badass who put out an epic pop single called I Wanna Be Bad. She made being bad sound good. She also helped influence other artists at the time like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera to push the envelope a little bit with their own suggestive content. But her singing career did not last the same way that theirs did. She also had other talents that she was focusing on, like designing houses. She decided to step away from her music career and transitioned into the world of interior design, building a very impressive brand called W. Ford Interiors. Her interior design skills even got the attention of Scott Disick, who actually hired her to be the in-house designer for his reality show, Flip It Like Disick. So, worked out well for her. Halfway through our list, number 5 is Chris Humphries. You might know his name because he was once married to Kim Kardashian, and their wedding had their very own television special. But before he got involved with Kim, he was a basketball player. He played for 9 different professional teams, but then the spotlight shifted to him in a different way, and everything changed. Once he was with Kim, he was making tabloids on a regular basis and was getting harassed in public by the paparazzi. He was also a big part of the reality show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but they got divorced just 72 days after they got married. Could he have stayed in the limelight some other way? Probably. But instead he continued with basketball and then retired from the NBA. After he retired, he actually moved back home and started franchising fast casual restaurants. In spot number 4, we have Dolores Hart. She burst into the movie scene when she was just a teenager. In 1957, she played Elvis Presley's love interest in Loving You. From there, she skyrocketed into being a leading lady in the industry, and she went on to star in 9 more feature films, like the cult classic Where the Boys Are. So why did she up and leave what seemed to be a very promising career? She was only 24 years old when she announced that she would be leaving Hollywood back in 1964. The news that she was leaving was surprising, but the reason why was even more surprising. She revealed that she was leaving to become a nun. She entered the Abbey of Regina Lotus Monastery in Connecticut, where she lives to this day. In our 3rd spot is Meghan Markle. I think we're all a little bit confused about where she wants her career to go at this point. She broke out in the acting world and took on the lead role in Suits, where she played Rachel Zane for 7 seasons. Fans expected to see her on their screens for a while, but she left the Hollywood scene in 2016 after going on a blind date with Prince Harry. Yes, a mutual friend set them up on a date and they fell in love and got married. Obviously, she was becoming part of the royal family and her whole world was about to change. So at that time, she didn't leave Hollywood for a normal life. But in 2020, she revealed that she was going to be leaving her royal family life to live a more normal one. They announced they decided to step back as senior members of the British royal family and said they wanted to become financially independent. They are splitting their time between the United Kingdom and North America and now live somewhat of a normal life as parents. We're not sure where her career goes from here. Rolling into number 2, we have Jon Gosselin. You would probably know him better as John from John and Kate Plus 8. John was married to Kate Gosselin and they had 8 kids together, which got them their own reality TV show on TLC called John and Kate Plus 8. I feel like that is kind of self-explanatory, but whatever. Their hectic life was documented and people quickly fell in love with them. That was until John started wandering, as we will call it, and they got a divorce. Kate kept the show and gave it a new name, Kate Plus 8. No, I'm not kidding. John moved away from the limelight and began working regular jobs. He served in restaurants, he worked with solar panel installation, he did some DJing, he was a cook at TGI Fridays, but the one job that surprised people the most was that he became an exotic dancer. So yeah. Earning the number 1 place is Shaquille O'Neal. This one always shocks people, and I can say that because when I first found out, I was totally shocked. Like, I had no idea. The NBA legend Hall of Famer has had a very successful career on the court, but also found success in movies, with hip-hop albums, and as a TNT basketball commentator. But he also lives a very normal life behind the scenes. On top of everything else he does, he also loves cops, so he decided to become one in multiple cities. He went through Los Angeles Sheriff's Academy and became a reserve officer. Reports say he has participated in cases in Virginia and Georgia, and even became an honorary sheriff's deputy in both states. So even though he has maintained a huge spotlight in Hollywood, it seems that he also wants a piece of like the real world. I love that.
Number 10, Harry Styles' relationship. If there's one thing that the internet loves to do right now, it's tear down the romance between Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles. The couple met on the set of the movie Don't Worry Darling, which Olivia directed. He joined the cast in the fall of 2020, and by January 2021, the duo was spotted holding hands at a wedding, which naturally caused everyone to lose their mind. There has also been a lot of valid criticism directed at the couple, with some people questioning the timeline of their relationship, and they felt that Olivia moved on just too quickly after breaking up with her ex Jason Sudeikis. Former couple called off their 7-year engagement in November last year, and they shared 2 kids together. But most of the hate is due to the fact that she's 10 years older than Harry, which gets brought up a lot when we see that an older woman is dating a younger man, but often it's not the other way around. They are also mad that she is in a position of power over him, as she directed the movie that he was starring in. So in a way, their whole relationship is a huge red flag. Number 9, the CinemaCon incident. As Olivia was presenting at CinemaCon and promoting her new movie Don't Worry Darling, a woman from the audience approached her while she was still on stage and handed her a yellow envelope, which read "personal and confidential." The whole thing was caught on camera, and as the actress opened the envelope, she found out it was custody papers from her former partner Jason Sudeikis. After a brief moment of shock, she decided to continue on with her presentation, but later decided to accuse her ex of maliciously planning the incident. She told Variety, "In any other workplace, it would be seen as an attack. I hated that this nastiness distracted from the work of so many different people, and that the studio that I was up there representing, and to try and sabotage that was really vicious. But you know, sadly, it was not something that was entirely surprising to me. I mean, there's a reason I left that relationship, but the truth is that Jason was not able to choose the time or the place that the papers were served. So Olivia claiming that he was trying to sabotage her moment was completely untrue." If you're loving this video so far, please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 8, queerphobia. Olivia Wilde has faced huge backlash after alleged homophobic comments she made in previous interviews resurfaced online. 38-year-old actress has been slammed by the LGBTQ+ community for comparing changing roles in her career to that of someone who was making a life-changing decision about sexuality. In the interview, she was talking about what it was like going from being an actress to being a director, and she said it felt like coming out of the closet. She angered that same community again on another occasion, when she said that before she met Jason Sudeikis in 2011, she considered having a soft kind of lesbian relationship. Although it's totally fine to question your sexuality, people were mainly upset that Olivia claimed to have considered becoming gay just because she was lonely, which feeds into the stereotype stereotype that women only get into queer relationships because they don't seem to have any men in their life. Number 7, Shia LaBeouf comments. The actor was initially cast as Jack in Don't Worry Darling. However, pretty soon news broke in September of 2020 that Olivia had replaced him with Harry Styles. But the story that she began circulating was a little strange. She alleged that she fired Shia due to a no a-hole policy that she had while directing. She told Variety, "Shia's process was not conducive to the ethos that I demand in my productions. He has a process that in some ways seems to require a combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conducive to the best performances. Ultimately, my responsibility is to the production and to the cast to protect them." Just by her choice of words, Olivia made it sound as though he was a danger to the cast and crew, and that she had to fire him in order to protect everyone on set. This would have been easy for her to say, considering that Shia is being plagued by accusations of domestic violence at the moment, but in this instance, it was a blatant lie. Number 6, Kiki Lane. When it comes to the widely publicized drama surrounding Don't Worry Darling, there is new information being spilled every day. Kiki Lane and Ariel Stachel are now speaking out about how they were cut from most of the movie. They played the characters Margaret and Ted Watkins. Margaret serves as Alice's close friend and helps the protagonist in solving the mystery behind the Victory Project. The actress recently posted a video and 2 sweet images of the on-screen couple from the movie set on Instagram, but it was her caption that got everyone talking. She wrote, "The best thing about Don't Worry Darling is that I am lucky enough to meet Ariel Stachel. They cut us from most of the movie, but we're thriving in real life." When her Instagram post blew up, the outrage also grew, and one user commented, "Olivia Wilde cut a majority of the only POC characters out of her movie, marketed as a movie showcasing female pleasure, when it was only about women being literally entrapped without their consent. And you still want to defend her?" Number 5, leaked video. In response to Olivia's comments, Shia publicly exposed the truth behind his leaving of the project. And in the biggest revenge move ever, he emailed both Olivia and Variety magazine, saying, "You and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find the time to rehearse. Firing me never took place, Olivia. And while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the current social landscape, the social currency that brings, it is not the truth. So I am humbly asking, as the person with an eye toward making things right, that you correct the narrative as best as you can." Shia then leaked a video of Olivia practically begging him to stay in the film and making it seem like Florence Pugh was the only one who didn't want him there. In the clip, she tells Shia that she is not ready to give up on the possibility of him working in the film, saying, "The fact that you're leaving might be a bit of a wake-up call to Miss Flo." That video went viral and the result was utter chaos. Number 4, underpaying Florence. Early into the production of the movie, there were reports that Harry earned triple his co-star's salary, despite Florence being the film's leading lady. In early August, Showbiz Galore reported that she only took home $700,000 for her role as Alice, which sounds like a lot, but Harry was reported to be paid $3 million to play the supporting role of Jack, her husband, which if true would also be even more than the other notable co-stars in the film, like Chris Pine, who reportedly only made $600,000. But Olivia refuted the allegations and told Variety there is absolutely no validity to those claims. There has been a lot out there and I largely don't pay attention to it. She went on to call the pay disparity non-existent and said, "I'm a woman who has been in this business for over 20 years, and it's something that I have fought for myself and others, especially being a director. It's no secret that it's been an ongoing battle for men and women to have the same pay for film projects that they do together. So it's understandable that fans were fuming at the possibility that Florence was actually underpaid." Number 3, rude jokes. In March of 2011, after 8 years of marriage, Olivia filed for divorce from her first husband, Italian Prince Taurus Poli. While he was heartbroken after the split, it seemed like the actress was more focused on publicly humiliating her ex. In 2020, at an event hosted by Glamour magazine, she discussed trying to fake happiness with her ex-husband towards the end of her marriage. In fact, she aired out all their dirty laundry and even talked about how bad their sex life was. Quote, "I felt like my died, turned off, lights out. You can lie to your relatives at Christmas dinner and tell them everything on the home front is just peachy, but you cannot lie to your It really sounded like that was her attempt at a sex joke, but it wasn't great considering that it sounded like she just wanted to get up on stage and say that Tao was bad in bed. Even if she was joking, many people would agree that the whole thing was done in bad taste. Number 2, Richard Jewell. When the 2019 film came out, it was steeped in controversy, mostly because of Olivia's portrayal of real-life journalist Kathy Scruggs. The real Kathy, who died in 2001, was working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution when she broke a story that the FBI was investigating the security guard Richard Jewell for the in Centennial Olympic Park during the 1996 Olympics. But the issue with the movie was that it depicted the iconic female journalist as having traded sex for information, which was particularly offensive considering the fact that there was no evidence that the real Kathy Scruggs ever did that. And even many of her past colleagues ended up coming forward and condemning the movie. In general, Olivia didn't seem to see a problem with it and actually made several statements defending the movie. But audiences found her character to be sexist, demeaning, and an outright insulting trope imposed on women. This led to a boycott of the film, as a lot of people in the journalism industry were up in arms over the portrayal. And coming in at number 1, the premiere. While Florence Pugh did not end up walking the red carpet, the internet could literally not get over how distant she was from Olivia the whole time. The 26-year-old was obviously giving her the cold shoulder, which comes as no surprise following all the rumors of tension between the two actresses. Not only that, but the weird vibes continued into the screening, where Florence and Olivia had to be seated 3 people apart. According to multiple eyewitnesses inside the screening, the actresses maintained their cold demeanors towards each other, and Florence even turned away from her when she started crying during the standing ovation. While yes, she did walk the festival's red carpet with the rest of the cast, she only posed for group shots, and the 2 women were not photographed together alone at all. And Florence didn't even pose for pictures with Harry either. So as much as Olivia loves to deny it, it's clear that there is still some deep resentment between them, and it would be very unlikely that they ever work together again in the future.
Number 10. Claimed she wasn't acting. When Guthrie asked Heard about the accusations in court that she was acting on the stand, she fired back, saying, quote, "Says the lawyer for the man who's convinced the world that he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer?" It's obvious she was referring to Depp's role as Edward Scissorhands here, but the way she worded the response was really quite funny. What she was trying to insinuate is Depp is the one who is an award-winning actor, so if anyone was capable of performing on the stand, it would be him. Heard followed it up by saying that she had to listen to weeks of testimony saying quite directly that she's a terrible actress. So she's a bit confused about how she could be both. The question was obviously a very touchy one for her, as at the end of the trial, Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez, accused her of faking tears, calling the actor's testimony the performance of her life, even going on to reference Heard's acting coach, Christina Sexton, who said that she had difficulty crying when acting. Number 9. Criticized social media. Heard spoke about the role that social media played in the trial and emphasized just how much the internet supported Johnny Depp, saying, quote, "Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation." And it's pretty clear what she's referring to. It's true that on TikTok, people have overwhelmingly shown their support for the Pirates of the Caribbean actor. In fact, the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp has around 20 billion views on TikTok, while hashtag Justice for Amber Heard only has 80 million. Hashtags like Amber Heard is guilty has over 900 million views on social media, so it's not unreasonable for her to call the social media frenzy surrounding the trial as unfair. But it's another thing entirely to claim that this influenced the jury's decision. Number 8. Admitted to her mistakes. In what sounded like a moment of real accountability for Heard, she admitted to Guthrie that she has so much regret about the way that she and Depp treated each other during their relationship, and about where they ended up. She also described their dynamic as toxic, saying, quote, "It was ugly. It could be very beautiful," and in a moment of genuine admission, she went on to say, quote, "We were awful to each other. I made a lot of mistakes, but I've always told the truth." When Guthrie brought up the idea that she lost the case because she didn't own up to anything, Heard clarified that she did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout her relationship, and that she behaved in a horrible, almost unrecognizable way, and that she has so much regret, adding that she freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what she did. This was a really bizarre moment in the interview because Heard seemed like she was trying to come clean about at least part of the role she played in the disintegration of their relationship. Number 7. talks about the First Amendment. When asked about people's reaction to the trial, Heard brought up the issue of free speech and claimed that the defamation case was bigger than just the two of them, saying, quote, "This is not only about our First Amendment rights to speak." But Guthrie had a quick comeback, saying while the First Amendment protects speech, it doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. But Heard really pushed back, saying, quote, "It's freedom to speak truth to power." And according to her, that's exactly what she did and paid the price for it. She then went on to say that if she went into a theater and yelled fire, it would also be considered free speech, even though there would be severe consequences for doing that. She also claimed that truth is what she was really after all along, and only wanted the liberty to express it. It's not very hard to catch on to what she was saying here, that the verdict of the trial was indicative of a larger systemic issue surrounding free speech. Number 6, brings up the UK trial. When referring to the UK trial that Depp lost, Heard said, quote, "There was another trial that dealt with the same substantive issues and had even more evidence in. In fact, my evidence was largely kept out." She then went on to claim that because the decision was made by a jury and not by a judge, Depp's defense team was easily able to influence them. While it's true that a London court rejected Depp's defamation lawsuit, Camille Vasquez pointed to the fact that the evidence presented in the US trial far exceeded what was presented in the UK court. She also explained that it was a different process entirely, because in London, Depp's lawsuit was against The Sun, which is considered to be the biggest tabloid in the country, but his lawsuit in Virginia was against Heard directly. Vasquez added that at this time she believes the jury got it right. While it's impossible to find out exactly which pieces of evidence were suppressed, as Heard claims, she clearly does not want anyone to forget the fact that she won in the first trial. Number 5, criticizes his supporters and fans. Heard also confessed to Guthrie that she felt less than human during her defamation trial because of the overwhelming outrage against her by Depp's fans. Quote, "Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks, with people holding signs saying, 'Burn the witch' and 'Death to Amber.'" What she's talking about, of course, were the hundreds of protesters waiting outside the courtroom. She added, quote, "After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw a courtroom just packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized." When Guthrie asked her how that felt, she called it the most humiliating and horrible thing that she's ever been through, and that she has never felt more removed from her own humanity. It must have been surreal to see that Johnny Depp fans who were once cheering her on at the red carpet were now yelling and jeering at her. But what did she expect? The court proceedings were broadcast live on TV throughout the 6-week trial, which of course attracted crowds of in-person admirers, most of whom supported her ex-husband. Number 4, admits he had better lawyers. When Guthrie asked whether or not Depp had better lawyers and if that led to the US trial playing out differently, Heard said Depp's lawyers, quote, "certainly did a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues." An official spokesperson for Heard explained why it was that she decided to come on NBC. Quote, "Johnny Depp's legal team blanketed the media for days after the verdict, with numerous statements and interviews on television, and Depp himself did the same on social media, going on to criticize the fact that Depp's lawyers have appeared on Today and Good Morning America for interviews following the case." Heard's spokesperson called this behavior, quote, "unseemingly and unprofessional," and said that they were doing a victory lap for setting back decades of how women can be treated in the courtroom. But even Heard's lawyer Elaine Bredhoft said that there were some things that her team wished they could have done differently. She added that she thinks the atmosphere of the trial was what played the ultimate role. Number 3, blames jurors. Regarding the jury being influenced by the social media circus surrounding the trial, Heard said, quote, "I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this," adding that she thinks the jury is not immune to seeing how the vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. She also believes that this trial was an example of social media gone haywire, and that it would have been impossible for an unsequestered jury to avoid this. Although the jury was instructed to stay off social media, Heard's legal team insisted that it impacted the case. Bredhoft told Guthrie, quote, "There's no way they couldn't have been influenced by it," and it was horrible. It was really lopsided. But this is all in response to an appearance from Depp's attorneys, Benjamin Chu and Camille Vasquez, saying that there was no reason to believe the jurors violated their oath by engaging on social media. The truth is, there's really no way to know for sure. And number 2, discredits the audio tapes. Speaking about the alleged domestic violence in their relationship, Heard said, quote, "I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you are living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt to it." But Guthrie pushed back, saying that Heard spoke of starting fights on recorded audio. And Heard said, quote, "I know how much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips is not evidence of what was happening." Guthrie continued by reading some of the transcripts, to which Heard hit back, quote, "As I testified on the stand about this, when your life is at risk, not only will you take blame for things that you shouldn't take blame for," and claiming that the 20-second clips are not representative of the 2 or 3 hour conversations they came from. But when Guthrie asked her why she hadn't submitted the full recordings, she just said, "I'm not a lawyer." And coming in at number 1, she maintains her story. When Guthrie heard about her testimony in court, Heard said, quote, "To my dying day, I'll stand by every word of my testimony." And when Guthrie asked her about the fact that Depp denied that he ever hit her, and if that statement was a lie, Heard said, "Yes, it is." Ending the interview, Heard said, quote, "I made a lot of mistakes, but I've always told the truth. I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse." And with that, it seems like she has chosen to maintain her version of events and the allegations that she's made about her ex-husband Johnny Depp. Just how long she decides to stick to her story is something only time will tell.
Greg Yuna. We all know that Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson went through a hot and heavy romance that even led to an engagement at one point, but it did not last. And after only 5 months of being together, Pete and Ariana split. There was a lot of controversy with the relationship, and from the timeline it seemed like there might have been some cheating when it came to the relationship. A jeweler named Greg Yuna even came forward exposing that Pete wanted a ring in May of 2018. Only a week before Pete and Ariana were official, Pete was in a 4-year relationship with Cassie David, and there's a potential that Pete bought a ring for Cassie but ended up giving it to Ariana. After news of Pete and Ariana's engagement was made public, celebrity jeweler Greg Yuna revealed that Davidson reached out to him about a $93,000 engagement ring back in May of 2018. He said, quote, "Pete called me at the end of May and said, 'Look, I'm getting a ring. This is what I want,' and I told him that I had the right ring for him. He didn't tell me who it was for, but told me to keep it a secret. He didn't tell me anything about it." The reason this is strange is because Cassie and Pete announced their split on May 16th of 2018, so it's hard to tell if the ring was purchased for Cassie or if he bought Ariana the ring before things were finished between him and Cassie. Dan Crenshaw. Part of being a comedian is knowing what is crossing the line and what isn't. Pete got some major backlash on SNL after he made fun of politician Dan Crenshaw for wearing an eye patch. Even worse, Crenshaw got the eye patch while fighting in the army overseas. According to ABC News, former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw, quote, "lost his right eye when an IED exploded during a tour of Afghanistan in 2012. Many comedians would make a point not to make fun of a person with a disability, but Pete did not feel this way and trashed him on SNL. Davidson said during a 2018 episode of the show, quote, "You may be surprised to hear he's a congressional candidate from Texas and not a hitman in a porno movie." He then added, quote, "I'm sorry, I know he lost his eye in a war or whatever." Even fellow SNL cast member Kenan Thompson felt the line was crossed and said on the Today Show, quote, "I personally would never necessarily go there, but it's tough when you're fishing for jokes." Davidson and Crenshaw were able to make amends, and Crenshaw was even featured on an episode of SNL the week after the scandal, where he said some jokes at Pete's expense. Next up, Cassie David. Cassie was in a long-term relationship with Pete for 4 years before they split, and he publicly moved on to Ariana. At the time, she played it off, acting cool about his public relationship, but in a 2020 interview, she recalled just how difficult it was for her. While speaking with the LA Times, she shared more about their relationship and said that she constantly had to convince him that she loved him. She also revealed that she was the one that ended the relationship because it was becoming too toxic, but apparently a few days after the split, she called him and wanted him back, to which he declined. At that point, he was already with Ariana. Cassie says she was devastated and, quote, "shook uncontrollably in her father's arms during a flight to her sister's college graduation." She added that she couldn't stop thinking about Davidson and and Grande immediately falling in love, accompanied by an audio of her baby voice whispering sweet nothings in his ear, dubbed over his past declarations of love and trust to me. Next up, Kanye West. Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian have been spending a lot of time together recently, and many think the pair are officially dating. Kim used to be married to Kanye West, who was also friendly with Pete at one point in time, so fans think that Pete is breaking bro code by being with Kim. Kanye apparently also hates that Kim is getting handsy with Pete while out in public. In one resurfaced SNL clip, Pete poked fun at Kanye on a Weekend Update skit years before his date with Kim. Pete joked that Kanye was off his meds and needed to start taking them again. Pete also told Kanye that being mentally ill is not an excuse to be a jackass. Pete also put on a MAGA hat that read, quote, "Make Kanye 2006 again." Then a photo resurfaced of Kanye and Pete out to dinner together at Nobu in 2019. The pair were joined by Kim, Kid Cudi, and Timothée Chalamet. Kim shared 3 photos of the unlikely group smiling while seated around a dinner table at the time, writing, quote, "Happy birthday Kid Cudi," which confirmed that Kanye and Pete were friendly. A source told Hollywood Life that Kanye has commented on Kim and Pete's new romance. The source said, quote, "Kanye was really put off by Kim holding hands with Pete and he did not like it at all. He asked Kim to, quote, please refrain from showing public displays of affection with anyone until their divorce is finalized." The source even added that Kanye has contacted Kris Jenner for info on the new relationship, but she won't give a straight answer. Next up, Ariana Grande. Following the breaking off of their engagement, Ariana is probably the person with the most to say about Pete. They had a 5-month relationship in 2018 that had a bitter end, and their rocky romance gave Ariana the inspiration for her hit album, Thank You Next. Ariana opened up more about their relationship in a 2019 interview with Vogue. Apparently, her friends convinced her to spend the summer in New York after her breakup with Mac Miller. That's where she met Pete. Ari said that she loved Pete, but the relationship was, quote, frivolous and insane, and admitted that she, quote, didn't know him, despite agreeing to marry him, even calling the relationship, quote, an amazing distraction, adding, it was frivolous and fun and insane and highly unrealistic, and I loved him and I didn't know him. These comments rubbed Pete the wrong way, and he clapped back in his Netflix comedy special called Pete Davidson Alive from New York. He got some flack for talking about their relationship, and he responded, quote, where did she say this stuff? To her friends in the confidence of her own home? No, she said it on the cover of Vogue magazine. Can you imagine if I did that? My career would be over tomorrow if I spray painted myself brown and hopped on the cover of Vogue magazine and just started shitting on my ex. And lastly, Pete Davidson himself. During his relationship with Ariana, the public uncovered some controversial jokes made by Davidson. Some were even at Ariana's expense. Back when they were madly in love, Pete joked about switching Ari's birth control pills with Tic Tacs so that he would be tied to her forever. The joke was told while Pete was talking about how Ariana was the breadwinner in their relationship. He said, quote, I live at her place, she pays like 60 grand for rent, and all I have to do is stock the fridge. Then Davidson spoke about how the man doesn't always need to be the breadwinner in a relationship, adding, quote, last night I switched her birth control with Tic Tacs. I believe in us and all, I just want to make sure that she can't go anywhere. Then it was uncovered that after the tragedy at Ariana's Manchester concert that left 23 of her fans dead, Pete made a tone-deaf joke about it. According to The Mirror, in fall of 2017, Pete joked that Ariana must have realized how famous she was after the attack because, quote, Britney Spears didn't have a tragedy at her concert. Yikes. Ariana came to his defense and told fans that he uses comedy to make people feel better, but her fans still didn't accept the excuse. This is one of many inappropriate jokes that Pete has made over the years. He was also known for oversharing in his relationship to Ariana, and he would talk about their intimate life in public, which Ariana did not like.
At number 10 we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least, this is what those sources are saying about Jada. And that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary
documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 9, forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one. Because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet, Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally. At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound, but we'll get into that in just a minute. At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison, and this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open. Basically, so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course. Which he did, by the way. And this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced. At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the red table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond. At number 4, we have Jada and her top level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, when you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own. Jada said to Will, we're ride or die, bad marriage till the end. I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: this woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do. Big yikes. At number 3, we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good. At number 2, we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1, we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.
Number 10, Halsey. The rapper was linked to Halsey in March of 2017 when they were spotted at a beach together. Photos of their tropical outing resurfaced in July of 2018, prompting Halsey to deny the dating rumors. 2 months after she debunked the relationship, MGK confirmed that they weren't dating but had previously been intimate. The rapper seems to be consistently embroiled in a series of gross, tedious, and self-promotional feuds with other rappers, but he was also unable to be respectful to his ex and not discuss their private business on air. The rapper went on the Breakfast Club radio show interview that was hosted by DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlemagne the God. God. At the time, Halsey's boyfriend G-Eazy was already taking shots at him through his music, so when Charlemagne inquired if MGK really smashed Halsey, he just said yes. Now, you think that he might respond to that question with none of your business? He did absolutely no such thing, and it was incredibly disrespectful. So what was Halsey's response to this mess? She tweeted, "How absolutely pathetic." But the singer seems to be doing great these days and recently welcomed a baby with her screenwriter boyfriend Alev Aydin. Number 9. Jeff Lewis. This feud could also be put down to friendly neighborhood rivalry, but it highlighted just how much of a nightmare it would be if you had to have MGK living right next door. It all started on Sirius XM's Radio Andy show when Jeff Lewis called out Machine Gun Kelly as a local troublemaker in his neighborhood. Lewis exposed his not-so-neighborly behavior. Quote, "Now I have no issue with this guy, but there's tension brewing. He said it's actually going to turn into the movie Neighbors, and that he's Zac Efron, which means that I'm effing Seth Rogen." Lewis then took a swing at Kelly's hardcore lifestyle. Quote, "I've learned a lot about him. At 5 p.m, that to them is day drinking. He had a big cake in the shape of a guitar. They still park in front of the fire hydrant. They park in front of people's driveways. I think they're so effed up that they just stop the car wherever it lands." But despite the criticism, Lewis insists that he doesn't hate the rapper and his friends. It's only his other neighbors that do, because they complain about it all the time. But before the feud escalated, MGK sent a bottle of Dom Perignon to Lewis as a friendly truce and said, "I wish we could have a chance to meet. If you ever need anything, just come knocking. Cheers, neighbor." Number 8. Corey Taylor. If you're a rock or metal fan, chances are you've heard at least something about the feud that's been going on between Slipknot's Corey Taylor and Machine Gun Kelly. The beef started in February last year when Corey did an interview with Cutter's Rockcast where he dissed MGK's change in musical direction. Quote, "I hate all new rock for the most part. Well, the artist who failed in one genre and decided to go rock, and I think he knows who he is, but that's another story." Not long after, both artists performed at the Riot Fest, and MGK took a swing at Corey on stage. Quote, "Hey, you wanna know what I'm really happy that I'm not doing? Being 50 years old wearing an effing weird mask on an effing stage," and claimed that he was talking smack. The diss immediately went viral online, and people were criticizing Kelly left and right for his comments. He tried hard to defend himself, claiming that he was just responding to Corey's criticism, and explained that the rockstar had recorded a verse for his album, Tickets to My Downfall, that he didn't end up using, and accused him of being bitter over the situation. Then the Slipknot vocalist fired back, saying that he doesn't like airing his private business like a child, and came with receipts against Kelly's claims. It was truly a mic drop moment. Number 7. Conor McGregor. The UFC star got into an altercation with the singer that nearly turned physical. The story goes that McGregor and Kelly were both on the MTV Video Music Awards red carpet when things escalated very quickly. In video footage of the incident, McGregor could be seen lunging at Kelly, who was held back by security and his girlfriend Megan Fox. Seconds later, the fighter was escorted away, but not before he threw a cocktail in Kelly's direction. So what happened? Well, according to TMZ, McGregor walked up to say hello, asking for a photo. Kelly said something inaudible and rebuffed him with a shove, spilling some of McGregor's drink in the process. And then Kelly's security attempted to push him away, so that's when the fight broke out. Although the UFC fighter's spokesperson came out with a statement claiming he did not ask anyone for a picture, nor did he instigate the incident. For his part, McGregor downplayed the situation, and in an interview with Entertainment Tonight, he said that he just showed up and that he doesn't know what happened. Quote, "I only fight real fighters, people that actually fight. I certainly don't fight little vanilla ice white rappers. I don't even know the guy. I don't know anything about him except that he's with Megan Fox." Number 6. Brian Austin Green. When some celebrity couples split, they are looking forward to blending their families as they move on to new partners. That doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to Brian Austin Green and ex Megan Fox. When Megan and MGK publicly announced their engagement on the 12th of January, a year and a half after dating, they shared the news alongside a video of the proposal. But an insider source close to the 90210 star spoke to Entertainment Tonight, revealing that he wasn't bothered about it at all. In fact, he apparently couldn't care less about their engagement. Quote, "He doesn't have any lingering romantic feelings for Megan or any anger. Brian is happy for her, but it really isn't affecting him one way or another. There is no bad blood or ill will between them at this point." The source went on to add that Brian mainly feels indifferent towards the engagement and is glad he and Megan are co-parenting well together. The former couple, who announced their split in May of 2020, began dating in 2004 and shared 3 children together. However, Brian is not exactly jumping up and down at the prospect of Kelly becoming a stepfather. Number 5. Summer Rae. The model has opened up about the way her relationship with Machine Gun Kelly ended last year, and made the bombshell claim that he started dating Megan Fox while they were still together. Summer and Kelly dated for 3 months until they split up at the end of April of 2020. But she claims that while Megan and Kelly were filming their Midnight in the Switchgrass movie, she was actually still dating him. She went on Logan Paul's podcast saying, quote, "He did kind of cheat on me with Megan Fox if you look at the timeline. I waited in the hotel the whole time while he's filming with her, and I'm not really thinking anything of it. I thought she was older and had kids and was married and stuff. But it wasn't the so-called cheating that got her so fired up." Summer actually said that she was way more upset by the way that MGK exploited the end of their relationship on Twitter. She went on to say that she got death threats for weeks and weeks after from his cult following, and revealed that when she confronted Kelly about why she wasn't allowed on set for his music video, Bloody Valentine, he claimed it was COVID restrictions, before she later found out that Megan Fox was his romantic interest for the video, which is pretty bad when you think about it. Number 4. Miller McCormick. Machine Gun Kelly's film, originally called Good News, wasn't sitting well with the brother of late rapper Mac Miller. Kelly played the lead role in the film, a tortured rapper whose story takes its inspiration from the arcs of such contemporary artists like Mac Miller, Lil Peep, Pop Smoke, and even Juice WRLD. But in response to the announcement, Miller shared a social media message seemingly criticizing the project. Quote, "F you, F your movie, at least change the title." He particularly took umbrage with the movie's title, as Good News was Mac's first single from his January 2020 album Circles. The movie also alluded to the tragedy that was the late rapper's death in 2018 due to illicit substances at the age of 26. In response, the production company Riverlet Media issued a statement. Quote, "Our film is about a fictional musician on the rise with a troubled life. It's not in any way a biopic or based on any artist's true life. We realize the title, which was intended as an homage to Mac Miller and other artists gone too soon, feels disrespectful." The title was then changed to Taurus and was released earlier this year, although it's clear that Miller didn't appreciate Kelly's on-screen portrayal of his brother at all. Number 3. G-Eazy. This feud really started as more of a complicated love triangle. While G-Eazy was dating Halsey, MGK exposed some intimate details about his prior relationship with her. When Kelly went on The Breakfast Club in 2018 and made those disparaging comments about the singer, it was pretty clear that G-Eazy was not having it at all. The admission was also a really big deal because it was the first time either musician publicly acknowledged that they had a relationship that was more than platonic. Halsey got wind of the interview immediately and tweeted about how pathetic she thought Kelly was. But the feud didn't exactly start there, as 1 month before the interview, G-Eazy dropped the track Bad Boy, which includes the lyrics, "MGK, please stop trolling me, get over me. You wanna be me, you're mad that you're not as big as me, I'm everywhere, I'm your nightmare, you can't get rid of me." Hours later, Machine Gun Kelly dropped his freestyle rebuttal online, saying that the only easy I F with is E. I F'd his girl, now turn that frat rap off, I get sick of hearing. He also accused Eazy of copying his style by bleaching his hair blonde and wearing an earring. But by 2019, it was clear to fans that the rappers had overcome their feud because Eazy invited Kelly on stage to perform with him at a nightclub in Las Vegas. Number 2. Gabrielle Rodriguez. 2 members of Machine Gun Kelly's crew have been arrested after they allegedly attacked Gabrielle Rodriguez, better known as G-Rod. According to TMZ reports, Brandon Allen and John Capoletti turned themselves into authorities a full year after the alleged incident occurred at a Hampton Inn hotel in Georgia. There is actual CCTV footage showing those members of MGK's crew violently attacking the 41-year-old actor in a hotel lobby. As a result, they were both charged with misdemeanor battery causing substantial harm. According to Rodriguez, the attack happened as a sort of revenge because he confronted MGK for making those creepy comments about Eminem's daughter when she was 16 at the time. The publication also obtained a video of Rodriguez explaining why he called out the rapper. Quote, "I'm gonna say it because it has to be said. You're a pussy for going for my family." He proceeded to call him a coward after the attack and claimed he filed a lawsuit against the rapper for allegedly instructing his crew to carry out the attack. Rodriguez also sued the hotel for negligence, but MGK's crew only got a slap on the wrist for the whole incident. And coming in at number 1, Eminem. To set the scene for this feud, we have to go back a whole decade. In 2012, MGK tweeted about Eminem's daughter, Haley Mathers, and it wasn't exactly what any father would want to hear. Quote, "Okay, so I just saw a picture of Eminem's daughter, and I have to say, she is hot as F." And he said this despite the fact that yes, she was 16 at the time. Kelly Kelly claimed in a radio interview a few years later that some critics wouldn't review his work because of his comments about Hailey, alleging that Eminem blacklisted him from several radio stations because of the tweet. The two rappers went on to diss each other on a number of different tracks, including Eminem's Not Alike, where he says that Kelly is only trying to keep up his tough demeanor and goes on to criticize the rapper's comments about his daughter. But the diss tracks reached a whole new level when MGK released a song titled Rap Devil, calling Eminem sober and bored and making fun of his age. After rather a lot of back and forth, Eminem completely obliterated him in an interview, quote, "Like I'm trying to hinder his career. I don't give an F about your career. You think I actually effing think about you? Do you know how many effing rappers are better than you? You're not even in the effing conversation."
Coming number 10 today, we have Justin Bieber. It's clear that Justin Bieber isn't really happy since his wife, Hailey Bieber, and ex Selena Gomez developed a close bond recently. It's said that the Peaches singer has even warned the model to keep her distance from the Wizard of Waverly Place actor as he is concerned that something might go wrong. An insider would then tell In Touch Weekly that after years of being pitted against each other, Selena and Hailey are finally on friendly terms. However, Justin is freaking out over them comparing notes since their pictures from the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures' second annual gala went viral. He then warned Hailey to keep her distance from Selena, despite calling a truce. As far as Justin is concerned, he believes all hell can break loose at any moment, which is only fair as he and Selena had a pretty messy breakup, and Justin's fans have been urging him to leave Hailey for some time because everybody's still stuck on his relationship with Selena Gomez. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 9, Miley Cyrus. At one point, Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus were pretty good friends, and as their fame started to take off, their environment would grow to be the perfect storm for jealousy, self-loathing, and unreasonable competition. Things even got so bad between the two. At one point, Selena and Miley were even characterized as mortal enemies, battling it out for the ultimate Disney crown. The feud all started when Miley started dating Nick Jonas, and after they broke up, he became romantically linked to Selena Gomez. After Selena confirmed her relationship with Nick Jonas, over the next couple of years, the girls would have a number of small passive-aggressive and ultimately meaningless gestures that took place on both sides, like back in 2008 when Selena and Demi made that YouTube video, and then Miley and her friend Mandy made fun of the video by spoofing it. While it seems like the stars have no bad blood today between them, they definitely aren't exactly friends either. Number 8. The Weeknd. The Weeknd didn't seem to have the nicest things to say about Selena Gomez after the two broke up in October 2017 after 10 months of dating. But it's not really surprising since Selena did leave him to reconcile with her ex-boyfriend Justin Bieber, as the two were spotted kissing less than a month later. Later, The Weeknd would even write a song called Call Out My Name, which he told the story of their relationship, and he seemingly threw shade at how quickly his ex moved on by singing, "I guess I was another pit stop. Till you made up your mind, you wasted my time." He then also appeared to take aim at Selena on several other songs from his other EP, which widely speculated to be about the breakup. On the song Try Me, he would sing, "Don't mess with me, the way I kissed your scars, the way I fixed your heart, don't you mess with me, babe." While his track Privilege would call out Selena's life when he sang, "Enjoy your privileged life, cause I'm not gonna hold you through the night. We said our last goodbyes." The Weeknd never confirmed that the EP was about Selena, but he would tell Esquire that it was short because he had nothing else to say on it. Now, why anyone would ever want to leave The Weeknd for Justin Bieber is beyond me, but Selena's true colors showed when she did just that. Number 7, Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande and Selena Gomez have never really exactly been friendly with each other, and it all goes back to one person, Justin Bieber. After Selena and Justin officially broke up, Selena set it as her goal to ruin Justin's career, and she caused a lot of chaos in the process. So before Ariana became famous, she was actually this huge Justin Bieber fan, and she always supported him and defended him throughout her career. So after Justin was branded as the world's biggest a-hole thanks to what Selena was leaking to the press about him, aka him being a cheater, Ariana would then stand up for the singer and claim that he was actually a really nice person. But it seems like the girls really just couldn't stand each other because Selena
Selena was always really jealous when it came to other girls being around Justin. And when Ariana was opening up for Justin on tour, Selena would end up fuming over the idea. And when Ariana was set to sit beside her during the KCAs, Ariana even moved her seat to sit somewhere else while Selena stayed in the same place. Number 6. Sofia Richie. Back in 2016, Selena made a comment about Sofia Richie's and Justin Bieber's relationship. Sofia would then weigh in on the drama and support her rumored boyfriend, Justin Bieber. In case you forgot, this is when Selena called out Justin Bieber for sharing back-to-back photos of Sofia and then threatened to make his Instagram private so people would stop hating on her. Selena would then write, "If you can't handle the hate, then stop posting pictures of your girlfriend, lol. It should be special between you two only. Don't be mad at your fans. They love you." Though Justin provided his own response, Sofia made sure to show her support for him by saying, "Justin is not shutting out his believers. He's thankful every day for y'all. Y'all got him here. He doesn't forget that, period. All love." Then Selena and Justin began this really big back and forth that the internet couldn't help but dive into. Number 5. Bella Hadid. Now, just when Selena started dating R&B singer The Weeknd, Bella Hadid would end up being hella livid because before Selena and The Weeknd got together, apparently Bella and him had plans to eventually reconcile. However, The Weeknd claimed that he was taking a break from his relationship with Bella so he could actually focus on his career, and he actually just ended up doing the exact opposite. And that's when he started talking to Selena Gomez, which actually resulted in a lot of tension between the two ladies because after The Weeknd left Bella, he pretty much jumped right into a relationship with Selena, and this really hurt Bella because she loved The Weeknd and thought that they would ultimately end up together. She was more just livid with Selena though because she was the only one standing in her way of getting back with her ex. And when the two started to date, Bella knew her relationship with him was officially over, and that really hurt her. Number 4. Chris Rock. In a display of shade that seemingly had no reason behind it, Chris Rock would very publicly diss Selena by posting a less than kind meme to his Twitter account back in June of 2016. At the time, the comedian would share a snap of Selena smiling and rocking a gold bodysuit while performing on stage alongside the caption, "When you buy your formation tickets on Craigslist." He then wrote alongside the meme, "This is true." Understandably, the tweet, which still remains on the actor's account today, didn't go too well with Selena fans as supporters then bombarded them and criticized them. And one fan even said, "When nobody will buy your stand-up comedy tickets, so you come out on Twitter to slander someone more successful than you." The shade was made all more confusing after it was pointed out that both Chris and Selena had actually gotten along pretty well a few years earlier as they were photographed together chatting on the red carpet at the 2010 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, when Gomez even sweetly embraced the comedian's daughters. Number 3. Stefano Gabbana. Stefano Gabbana back in June of 2018 wouldn't say the nicest things about Selena when she was on a social media break, and he went straight for the comments that surrounded the actor's looks. Just after a fashion account called The Catwalk Italia posted 5 photos of Selena in this stunning red dress, one of the snaps would show the star in a stunning floor-length red Dolce & Gabbana dress. The Italian account would then tag the brand on the snap. Then for some reason, the co-founder Dolce & Gabbana wasn't a fan of any look, nor was he a supporter, as he would comment on the photo, "She's so ugly." While Gomez fans slammed the designer in follow-up comments, he didn't seem so worried about the raft of the star's supporters, as he simply wrote in response, Selena then ended up getting the last laugh when she was spotted at New York Fashion Week in September 2018 with the word "ugly" written in rhinestones on her hair. Number 2. Demi Lovato. So today, Demi has no beef with Selena Gomez. However, she has made it clear that she is no longer friends with the star that she used to be best friends with. Their falling out would allegedly be caused over personal struggles both had to face over the years, as Demi felt like Selena wasn't always there for her and that their friendship wasn't actually really real. While Demi has confirmed that she does have a lot of love for Selena, she just can't be friends with her at this time, as she doesn't want to be reminded of her Disney days, as they made made her feel miserable and overworked. The two girls first became friends when they worked on Barney together, and later when they became teenagers, they started to drift apart. As Demi started to enter into this really big downward spiral, Selena would then start to distance herself from Demi as she entered into rehab facilities, and Demi started to feel like she was being abandoned by her best friend. While the two continued to have this really off and on friendship, both girls' personalities continue to clash, which leads you to wonder what's truly going on between them and what actually happened that made them hate each other. And coming in number 1 today, we have Lorde. So Lorde is another star who has spoken out about Selena Gomez, and this time it's because of her music. It's clear that the musician is not a fan of Selena's single, Come and Get It. And while Lorde was speaking to the Rolling Stone in 2013, she would say, "I love pop music on a sonic level, but I'm a feminist, and the theme of Selena's song, Come and Get It, when you're ready, come and get it from me. I'm sick of women being portrayed this way." Lorde would then be asked about her comments by MTV News, and she refused to back down by saying, "I have pretty strong morals in my opinion being in pop music, and I can't help but express those, which I think people appreciate. I mean, I don't think I can say anything that isn't backed up. Most of the times I will stand by things that I've said." As for what Selena had to say about the matter, well, she hit back in October 2013 in an interview with Flaunt, where she went after Lorde for claiming she's a feminist while tearing other women down by saying, "That's not feminism. Lorde is not supporting other women. That's my honest opinion. That's what I would say to her if I saw her. I actually covered her song in all of my shows that I've done so far. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue that." Coming in number 10, we have Bella Thorne. Back in 2015, Bella Thorne would make remarks about there being a mean girl in Hollywood. In an interview with HuffPost Live, Bella would talk about why she hates the unnamed young woman whom she told 17 magazine that she stays away from at all costs. Bella would say it's not like she hated her because she was a billionaire, she just didn't like her because she's a billionaire, and she makes sure everyone knows that she is. Bella also went on to describe the mean girl as being someone in business with siblings who has been a billionaire since she was little, and she never had to work for anything in her life. While people try to point fingers at the Hadid family, the Jenners, Ariana Grande, the frontrunner of all accounts when it came to the speculation is that Bella Thorne was talking about Nicola Peltz, as her father really is a billionaire and she has 7 siblings and 2 half-siblings, with her family living on sprawling estates in Bedford, New York, and owns a luxurious spread in Florida. While Nicola wasn't exactly a household name, she was sure working on it, and what made Nicola become the number 1 speculation is that she even starred in a 2014 independent film with Greg Salkin, who used to date Bella Thorne, Anwar Hadid. In the beginning, it said that Nicola and Anwar Hadid split on good terms, and the two dated for a year and a half. However, back in 2018, when Hadid was caught making out with Kendall Jenner, it seems like the relationship between Hadid and Nicola would turn sour, and Nicola would unfollow the whole Hadid family while erasing any memories she had with them on her social media pages. Hadid and Peltz first went public with their relationship back in 2017 after Nicola made headlines for her brief relationship with Justin Bieber. Since the two went public, they seem to have been going strong up until Hadid was spotted with Kendall Jenner, and while it may seem like Kendall may be the reason behind the split between Hadid and Nicola, with the photo between Kendall and Hadid being pretty damning. If their relationship really did end on a good note, why did the whole Hadid family also go on to erase all the pictures of her from their timeline like she never existed? Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Victoria Beckham. Ever since Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz's lavish Miami wedding, rumors have been circulating about the state of Nicola's relationship with her new mother-in-law Victoria Beckham, with majority of the feud being on social media. In a discussion, no actual reports on the matter had made it to the press until recently, when a source decided to speak to Page 6 and not hold anything back. With the source claiming that there's been a full-on Cold War happening right now between Victoria and Nicola. The source would also confirm that their feud started prior to the wedding day. Apparently, the two can't even stand each other, and it was a build-up to the wedding day, and the build-up to the wedding day was horrendous. According to the source, the issue is to do with the classic bride and mother-in-law relationship turning sour and the lead-up to the wedding. Something we've seen in too many movies, but none of which are as juicy as the stakes in the real life drama. Apparently Nicola didn't want Victoria to be a part of any of the planning, and she wouldn't clue Victoria in on anything. The communication was minimal, and this is what led to the non-stop petty drama, which caused tension between the eldest Beckham son and his parents. And the feud would only worsen when Brooklyn posted his new wife's Tatler magazine cover, which had the headline, "The New Miss Beckham." It's also been said that the feud started between the two when Nicola decided to wear a Valentino dress instead of a wedding gown designed by Victoria on her big day. Number 7. Romeo Beckham. Being said at the moment, Romeo is trying to be the peacemaker to smooth over an alleged family feud between his brother's wife and his mother, with tensions growing since the service, and Victoria being reportedly annoyed that the bride, a billionaire heiress, did not choose to wear a wedding dress designed by her fashion house. Sources also say that Nicola was unhappy about her new mother-in-law stealing the limelight away from her on her big day at her family's estate, and Romeo has been trying to repair the damage by acting as a mediator, talking to his mom as well as Brooklyn and Nicola. However, the tensions have been so high that Romeo has had to disinvite Nicola from his 20th birthday party, and instead Nicola and Brooklyn will be posting and attending various events in the US instead of celebrating Romeo's birthday with him. While it's been said that Romeo has been on the phone with his brother morning, afternoon, and night, he's also been talking to Nicola to try to smooth over the situation. Romeo finds the whole situation awful for Brooklyn because his marriage started out with so much stress between his mother and Nicola, and that Nicola has demanded that Brooklyn remains loyal to her at all costs, and he can't even back up his family. Number 6. David Beckham. David Beckham has reportedly confronted Brooklyn Beckham over the drama involving Victoria and Nicola. While it's been said in the past that David has never lost his temper with Brooklyn or has talked harshly to him, it has finally happened as the athlete has had to read a riot act to his eldest child. An inside source would reveal that David had it out with Brooklyn when he told him that we don't do this in our family, and you know we don't do this in our family. What happens next is up to you, but we are done with the drama. Apparently David was really upset about the comments made by Nicola and Brooklyn in their interview for a magazine. David found the article to be a statement that washed the family's dirty laundry in the public, and he was really disappointed that his son would do something to his family that would be so hurtful. Instead of working things out with their family, it seems like they would rather use the press to make a household name of Nicola, which doesn't seem to be working out the way they planned it to. Number 5. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber never found his relationship with Nicola Peltz really healthy or serious. Nicola and Justin first sparked dating rumors in May of 2016 after they were spotted out on a handful of dates in LA. Although Justin was touring at the time, he made time for date nights with Nicola and even took her on vacation to his hometown in Toronto. Although the two were never officially a couple, Justin was reportedly smitten with the actress. However, it seems like everything fizzled out because Justin found his relationship really unhealthy with the star, and he just wanted something serious and felt like Nicola wasn't that person. While Bieber never confirmed why he thought this about Nicola, after the two finished their relationship, he would come out to say that he needed a healthy relationship with people he could feel safe with, and that he could feel safe to say whatever he wanted to and not be judged for it. He would then go on to say when he was looking for a girl to be his partner, he wanted someone who was confident in herself and honest, and he would then go on to say he would also have to find her very attractive and that he could see himself with her for the rest of his life. And it's clear that Nicola was never going to be that person. Number 4. Emma Bunton. After confirming her original invitation that she would attend Brooklyn's lavish wedding to his fiancée Nicole Peltz just hours before they were meant to get married, Emma would back out and reveal why she couldn't attend the wedding. While the Spice Girl would share a picture of the beaming group snaps with the happy couple to Instagram just hours before they were set to wed, in her caption she would explain that she was unable to join and told her former band member Victoria and her husband not to cry. However, in the caption, she never really shouted out Nicola or Brooklyn, and her whole post would be more about how sorry she was for not being able to go to the event to support Victoria and David. While there were photos of Nicole and Brooklyn, while Emma and Victoria are said to be close friends, it's clear even though she may like the couple, she's always going to support and stand by Victoria, and she knew all the drama leading up to the event was something she never wanted to be a part of, and she chose to to stay away from it so she could escape all the drama. Many fans were definitely expecting there to be a Spice Girl reunion, but without her attendance, it would just be a gutting feeling. Number 3, Mark Anthony. Nicola reportedly stormed out of her own wedding reception crying over a gushing tribute for her mother-in-law Victoria Beckham. The billionaire heiress and the wife of former legendary football player David Beckham allegedly have a strained relationship ever since Nicola's wedding with Brooklyn. Insiders close to the family have stated it all started during a lavish ceremony when a wedding guest at the time, Mark Anthony, gave a gushing speech in honor of Posh Spice, with the speech not mentioning Nicola at all and being about how awesome Victoria was. Nicola would be enraged with anger because she wasn't the center of attention on her wedding day, so she stormed out of the wedding reception crying with her sister and mom. However, another source would say it wasn't that she was crying because of Mark's speech about Victoria, it was because he allowed Victoria to steal her first dance song. Nicola knew that Mark was close to the Beckhams and would be complimentary to them in his talk. However, if she was concerned about it, her father wouldn't have paid Mark and his band to perform. Number 2, Cruz Beckham. While the Beckham family usually tends to be pretty tight-knit, things have been pretty tense since the awkward April wedding. Cruz would be left to choose sides. The whole choosing side thing would start after fans started to realize that Brooklyn wasn't posting any memories with his family lately, and they all seem to be about Nicola and her family these days. It seems like after Nicola got married to Brooklyn, she made him forget about his family and where he came from. While fans have pointed out that if David Beckham was their dad, they would be proud to call him dad. It also caught the attention of Cruz, who would show his support to his family by posting a picture saying that he loved his mom and another picture that said his dad had the best clothing. Cruz would then also repost a photo that Romeo shared as a throwback picture from Brooklyn's wedding, with the groom walking alongside the rest of the Beckham men, and the caption said, "Nothing more important than family," to which Victoria would reply by sharing a series of heart emojis. Number 1, we have Brooklyn Beckham. When a celebrity posts an image on social media, it can cause quite a stir even if the intentions were completely innocent. When Nicola posted an image that she thought was innocent, she would start to be criticized by hundreds of fans on Instagram after she posted a picture to make her husband Brooklyn Beckham jealous. The photo upset more than a few people when she posted the picture being hugged from behind by designer and friend Giuliano Calza. He jokingly posted in the comments of the photo, "Make Brooklyn jelly." In the image, Giuliano can be seen giving Nicola a kiss on her cheek. The image has now gone to revive its fair share of criticism. While it was meant to be a joke, fans still called Nicola out by saying Brooklyn looked hostile and that Nicola was trying to put on a show to get on his nerves, and it clearly worked. Another fan would tell Brooklyn that Nicola was humiliating him, and enough was enough.
At number 10, we have Megan Thee Stallion. Now, we all know how confusing it was to see Cara's encounters with Megan at the 2022 Billboard Music Awards. It got so wild that fans worryingly assumed Cara was tripping on something and acting creepy while she followed the body artist around. At the time, one tweeted, "Memes beside, Cara Delevingne is so creepy, and I hope she gets a restraining order from Megan Thee Stallion." Another accused Cara of being obsessed. However, the Suicide Squad actress eventually had to clear her name from the viral moment on July 22nd, where she had to finalize that she was simply a really excited hype woman at the time. The incident in question, in short, is that Cara was trailing Megan around the event, pulling odd faces at Megan and staring at Megan posing on the red carpet, later joining Megan in her photo op to assist her with her dress. It was eventually clarified that Cara attended the event with the rapper, and Megan did not deny this. In Cara's explanation to Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show, she explained, quote, "I really wanted to see her play and she asked me to come along with her. I didn't know I was gonna go sit or do anything. I thought I was just going to come and watch her play. I walked in and I had a seat in the front row and I'm like, I'm not meant to be here." At number 9, we have Amber Heard. Now, many haven't heard much of her since her loss in the defamation case against her ex-husband Johnny Depp. However, most recently, Amber has been blamed for Cara's addiction struggle by a famous gossip columnist. Cara has opened up numerous times to the media about how rough her struggles with hard substances and thoughts of ending her life have been for her. But how was Amber involved? Well, for one, there's her past alleged romantic involvement with the actress while Amber was still married to Johnny. This went as far as Cara's name being dragged into their trial because old elevator footage obtained by the opposing legal team showed the actresses making out, which further proved Amber was unfaithful during her marriage. But their connection goes even deeper and seems a lot more troubling for the stars. Allegedly, they were additionally the organizers of sensual Hollywood parties, which numerous billionaire tech moguls were involved in. Jessica insisted that Cara was supposedly one of the famous women that Amber had set up her billionaire clients with. However, Jessica has no solid confirmation about how Cara was rumoredly involved in these events, aside from pictures of Cara at the parties. Like most parties, there were always drink and substance consumption occurring, which was said to be a major portion of the issues Cara is still reportedly going through. Jessica has labeled Amber as the enabler for quote, hooking Cara on hardcore redacted at these parties. While there's no real way of knowing how much or little this could have affected Cara, it definitely didn't help. If you haven't yet, tap the notification bell for more, it really helps our channel. At number 8 we have Poppy Delevingne. According to numerous reports, Poppy visited Cara's West Hollywood home last Wednesday morning. News outlets didn't state what she was there for, as she most likely didn't give reporters a reason. However, it was detailed that Poppy exited the house around 11 a.m. to leave in a black SUV. Poppy did inform them about an update on Cara, where she told them Cara was doing fine nowadays. It's still unknown whether or not Cara was home while Poppy was visiting though. Still, further media news released pieces that the socialite had rushed over to her sister from London because she was concerned for Cara's well-being with all the public incidents she was experiencing mixed in with her no-show events. It's a well-known fact that Cara and Poppy share an incredibly close sisterly bond. At number 7 we have Cara's Suicide Squad co-star and bestie Margot Robbie. According to reports made by TMZ, Margot was another famous pal of Cara's who popped a visit to her home on that same Wednesday. In Margot's case, she was photographed taking off from Cara's house looking visibly distressed and in tears. In photos, Margot is pictured with a reported bag of toiletries. Her visit came in light of Cara's then latest incidents, indicating that she might not be okay. Margot was described to still be distraught several hours after leaving Cara's residence around 5 p.m. Similar to Poppy, nobody knows if Cara was inside when Margot showed up. At number 6 we have Jay-Z. One of Cara's most heavily reported incidents over the past few weeks have been her getting forced to depart off the rapper's private jet while she was experiencing a reportedly erratic display at an LA airport. The British model's family and friends remain in fear that they will need to soon host an urgent intervention for the English star after witnessing her recently questioning behavior. This occasion was also the time when shocking photos and videos of Cara emerged online, showing her twirling around the airport with no shoes on. Cara also reportedly had bruises littered on her arm and her hair was unbrushed. This also followed up on her behavior prior to, when she appeared to be out of the sort while smoking, and also from her quote wild behavior at her Ibiza party with her loved ones. At number 5 we have Doja Cat. Another female rapper whose presence Cara graced at the 2022 Billboard Music Awards was the need-to-know musician Doja. At the time, Cara donned every headline you can think of for her odd behavior regarding Megan, both prior to and during the awards ceremony. But these weren't the only things that caught the media's attention. While seated for the show, Cara was brightly stationed front and center, and on either side of her was Doja and Megan. A fan-recorded video showed Megan and Doja, who were both nominated for a big award, holding a regular conversation. The actress soon pops her head out seemingly out of the blue while they're discussing and chimes into their conversation. Doja, who noticed her presence right away in surprise but seemed to not know Cara was there prior to her jumping in, said, "Oh my god, hi Cara Delevingne." In a since viral clip, Megan and Doja seem to chuckle the encounter off. However, this is where things get a little weird. While they all seemed fine at the event, when it was over, Megan took to her Instagram stories to celebrate her win and the night. In one photo Megan reposted from a fan account, she and Doja are posed together smiling, but fans quickly pulled up the original photo and attempted to piece 2 and 2 together. In the OG, Cara was sitting between both rappers and resultantly ended up being edited out Diddy style from the snapshot. At number 4 we have Lady Mary Chartreuse. Starting with the fact that Mary has been sober since 2018 and Cara is supposedly spiraling nowadays, with reports saying she's falling back into her addiction, this may be proof that this particular friendship could be exposing more than they think. Both are people of importance in Hollywood who came from affluent upbringings and run in the same inner circle. The longtime friends were also both celebrating Cara's exclusive 30th birthday party together in Spain. But despite their closeness, many spectators of Cara's situation have hinted that Mary could be the most concerned for her besties nowadays. At number 3 we have all-rounder Rihanna. The supermodel and Rihanna are actually super close and have been for quite a few years now. Given the inner circle Cara runs in though, alongside her DGAF attitude, it may not be all that surprising to know that she has a personality so similar to her close friend known as the Queen Riri. The entrepreneur and superstar and Cara first introduced themselves to one another at a fashion show. The pair would later star in Luc Besson's then eventual film Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. When Cara spoke about this experience of theirs once to Glamour, she stated, "I've seen her work in the studio, in concerts, in meeting, but to see her act was incredible. And while they do more than just party together, whenever they do, they clearly always have a great time." When Rihanna turned 30 in 2018, Cara posted an Instagram collage of them having fun in honor of her bestie's bash. Outside of their personal affairs, the two even support each other professionally. Cara walked Rihanna's 2020 Savage X Fenty runway for the Business Bosses fashion show. At number 2, we have Sienna Miller. Now, Sienna and Cara have quite similar behavior, and if you take a moment to even confirm this, you'll find tons of articles on their party animal ways. Furthermore, Sienna is basically dubbed as another enabler in Cara's life, as she is someone who Cara frequently allows her wilder side to shine with. This kind of dependence in the relationship could very well have played a hand in some of the recent reports of Cara floating around. However, Sienna is still considered to be one of Cara's closest friends, especially because of Sienna's friendship with Poppy. Reports detail that Poppy and Sienna lived together in New York after they left school. An apparent close insider to both Sienna and Cara informed Page Six back at the beginning of the year that the duo were a pair who enjoyed a wild time together quite often, and that they've been longtime friends because of this. The insider was referencing a kiss Sienna and Cara reportedly shared in a club at the time. At number 1, we have Ajira Aboa, who met Cara while they were both still teen models. The pair did a featured sit-down with Glamour back in 2017, and in it, they spoke of their memories together and the fact that they couldn't figure out when their exact meeting happened. Ajira solely remembers Cara, quote, walking around on the street of London in a cardboard box. As the two recalled some of their earliest bonding moments in their life together, they giggled about the time they were at Glastonbury, as well as their first trip to the Burning Man festival. According to Cara, they were driven to the event by a woman who was pregnant and blind. When speaking on the basis of their friendship, Ajira described it as so. "People call us model best friends, but we were friends before. What I've always been grateful for in our friendship is that we expect absolutely nothing from each other, just friendship." Cara and Ajira even share a matching tattoo of a half-red heart inked onto their hands to symbolize the close genuinity of their friendship.